Hello and welcome to Learn Flutter in 1 hour with Fabricot. Whether you are a complete beginner in mobile app development or you're an experienced developer looking to expand your toolkit, you have come to the right place. In the next hour, we are going to dive into the world of the Flutter development together. We will start with a basic understanding of Flutter core principles and architecture. Then we'll move on creating a new Flutter project, exploring widgets and understanding how to lay out your application. By the end of this tutorial, you will have the knowledge to build and run a simple Flutter application by your own. Before we jump on, it's important to have development environment set up. You'll need to set up your Flutter and also your favorite IDE, whether it is Android Studio or Visual Studio Code. So if you are ready, let's get started. Well, let's dive into the heart of Flutter, its architecture. At its core, Flutter uses a modern React-style framework which revolves around the use of widgets. Basically, in Flutter, all things are widgets. Widgets are the basic building blocks of a Flutter app's user interface. Each widget is immutable declaration of part of the user interface. Unlike the other frameworks that separate views, view controllers, layouts, and other properties, Flutter has unified object model, the widget. Flutter includes a rich set of widgets that deliver pixel-perfect experiences on both iOS and Android. But what's truly powerful is that you can create your own widgets, allowing the limitless customization and creativity. So let me start with the creation of Flutter application, Flutter project. So basically I have created a folder called Flutter on my desktop. On Windows you can create a folder like this and open your CMD. On Mac you can open your terminal and navigate to that folder. Let me navigate. Let me just drag and drop here and enter. At the moment I am in the folder. Now let me create a new project for Flutter. So to create a new project we need to run a small command which is Flutter create and the project name. Let's call our project Flutter in 1 hour. So Flutter in 1 hour. Okay, we cannot create a project with the camel case. We need to use the underscores. So let me again run this command, Flutter create. Flutter in 1 hour. And yes, we have created a project. Let's check in the folder. As you see, we have created our project and here is our project structure and folders. So you can open this project with your favorite IDE, whether you are using Visual Studio Code or Android Studio, or you can use IntelliJ as I am using IntelliJ. This IDE is more comfortable for me. So let's open IntelliJ and let me open a project from here. I need to navigate to desktop, then Flutter folder and open our project. Let's trust. And yes, here is our new created project with Flutter. So let me explain the folder structure for this project. Basically the structure of the folders in Flutter app, it's really easy, it's not complicated. We have different generated files, but basically we are going to work with the lib folder. The lib folder, it it is the core of the Flutter project. We have a main file which our project runs. We will run the app, and we have folder, Android folder, where our Flutter automatically built Android application for the Android devices, as well as we have iOS devices where the Flutter will handle iOS builds also. So basically we are going to write one single based code in the lib folder, and other part Flutter will handle by itself. It will generate build for iOS and for Android. Other folders are less important folders. We have test folders. Here we can write our test, and Linux folder where we can create a desktop apps for the Linux system. We have macOS folder where we are creating a macOS applications. We have a web folder where we can create a Flutter application based on web. So Flutter is not only a mobile framework. Basically it's a universal framework where we can create desktop applications, mobile applications, and web applications as well. So all of them will be native applications. So all those folders, as well as Windows folder, is Flutter handling by itself. So when we are writing a code in the lib folder, it will generate all those builds into that folders, and we can run our application in different kind of systems, operating systems, as well as web applications. So we have different files here which are auto-generated, but mainly we are going to work with the pubspec.yaml file. So what is the pubspec.yaml? Pubspec.yaml is the file which we are going to install different dependencies and different packages. So basically pubspec.yaml will help us to install the dependencies or packages which is already written in Flutter. We have a website, pubdev. So in pubdev we can search different packages. Let me explain you what is the package. The package is ready written code by the community of the Flutter. So people are writing different code blocks and they're sharing with us, so we can use this code, and it will make our application more faster to develop. And we are not going to rewrite code from beginning. Some packages are ready to use, so and those packages are helping us to build our application more faster. So basically it's a library of code where we are getting the code blocks and we are using someone's code in our application, and it makes more faster to develop any application in Flutter. So here are some packages, some popular packages like Riverpod. We have package which is get. Basically those packages are helping us to develop our Flutter application more faster, and it helps us to structure our application in a more standard way. And we have different kind of packages. So let me explain you the main file. From here our application will start running. Actually we have a function called main which uses run app to launch the application. Here is in the fourth line, as you can see, this line is launching the application, and it takes a widget as its argument, and the widget becomes the root of the widget tree. In the default app, this is a material app widget which set up your application to use material design. So here we have a material widget which is helping us to create a UI for the Flutter app. And my app is the widget which the main function is calling. Basically this is the part of the code which main is calling, and from here My app is using scaffold, which basically means the screen itself, and with the scaffold UI is getting built in the Flutter app. So we can let me run the app, and you can see on the emulator how it look like. So let me click on the run button. For the users who are using Windows operating system, they can download Android emulator and run actually Android emulator the same code. So basically the code will work for Android and iOS on both of them. Well, I have run our application, and here is how it look like. This is the basic Flutter application which comes with Flutter when you're running the project or creating a project. So this is the basic app which is auto-generated by Flutter. So Flutter shows how the basic application looks like. And as I told you, the main function is calling the My App, and My App is basically a widget. As I previously mentioned, in Flutter all those things are widgets, and basically all from text to the complex things, Flutter is building a widget, and according to that widget the Flutter runs the application, and then it updates the UI. So I will go through all the code here, and I will try to explain you how that works and what is the meaning of that widget. So the function is calling My App, and My App is actually a widget which is a class, and we have basically two different classes, like stateless widgets and stateful widgets. In Flutter, widgets come in two flavors, stateful and stateless widgets. Let me explain the difference of them. A stateless widget is an immutable widget which is not changing, meaning once it's built it cannot change its state. Think of its static content, like a text label that does not need to interact with the user action. On the other hand, a stateful widget is a dynamic. It can change its state in response to events triggered by user interaction or other factors. An example would be a checkbox, or like if the user checks or unchecks the checkbox, the state is going to change. As an example, I can show you in this application how it look like. Well, this text is a static text and it's not changing at all, but this text here, when I click on that button, the text is going to change. So the page here, the pixels here are updating the user interface when I clicked on that button, and it's changing the state. So basically stateful widgets are changing our states. When I click many times, the state is changing, the pixels are changing, and Flutter is updating the UI. So in Dart, we are, as I said, we are creating all needed files inside the lib folder. And let me create another file, and let's call it greeting widget, and create our first stateless widget. Let me create a new, and from here, depending on your IDE, you can create a simple file, or directly you can create a Dart file. Let me create a Dart file, and I will call it greeting widget. So greeting widget. Our file is created. Now inside our file we are going to create our stateless widget. So depending on your IDE as well, you can use shortcuts to create a widget block. For example, in Android Studio and IntelliJ IDE, you can write just stls, and you will have some suggestions. So here we can create a stateful, a stateless widget and other widgets. Let me click on enter, and our code block is also came. So let me write the widget name, greeting widget, and as you see we have some errors some places. This is because Flutter is using material library. So in order to use those widgets we need to import our material library. Let's click on the error, and who is using Mac, we can simply press on option and enter button, but who is using Windows, they can press on alt and enter button, and we'll have the suggestions here. From here we can choose material, and as you see our library is imported. So basically we have a class, and this class extends stateless widget. As I told you, stateless widget is the widget which is not changing its state. So let me go further and create another widget inside our widget tree. And in Flutter we have a widget called center, which centers all widgets inside it. Don't worry about it, I will explain all code, and I will show you on UI also in emulator how it works. So let's create a center widget. Inside center widget, let's give a child. Basically we have a widget tree which is the widget inside another widget, and etc. It goes like this. So let me create a text widget inside it, and inside the text widget we can write, for example, hello. Okay, also we can stylize our text widget, but let me show you first how it looks like in our screen, our new screen. In order to see this screen, in order to display the screen in emulator, we need to navigate to the screen. We have main function. Previously I told you that everything starts from main, and main runs the my app widget, stateless widget. So what we are seeing in the screen here, it's all widgets which is in the my app stateless widget, and here we have a stateful widget which is changing the state here. So let me check the button here. We have a button here, floating action button, and from this button I will navigate to my screen, new screen, greeting widget. So let me clean the code, and I will explain also how we can navigate from one screen to another screen. Well, navigation in Flutter is really easy. So basically what we are going to do is, when we press on this button, I'm going to navigate to the new screen which we have created here. So in order to navigate from one screen to another screen, we need to write navigator dot context push. So here I need to write a material page road, and here I can write a context as well. From this context I will navigate to our new screen. So we need to write the screen name here, the widget name actually. Let me copy the widget name here and paste it here. So we have some error because we didn't import the widget which is created. So let me click on option and enter button and import this widget. As you see, we have imported this widget here. So in Flutter, navigation works like this. We just navigate, we are writing a navigator, then we have a context. In Flutter, everything working with context. So basically what context means? Context means that every widget has its own context, and from this context Flutter knows where we have to navigate or from where we are doing some actions. So we are writing a context, then we are pushing to that page with the material page road, and then we are writing a page name. Okay, let me save my code and check this screen again. In this screen actually we forgot one widget. Let's create scaffold also, and from scaffold we can give just body. Okay, let me save my code and just click on this button, and as you see, we have created our own stateless widget. It's just a text and it's not changing. So let me go through this code again. We have greeting widget. Is a simple widget that returns a text widget wrapped in the center widget, a line in the center of the screen. So, and we have a scaffold also. Scaffold basically is the screen itself. This white area and whole screen is the scaffold. And then I wrap the text widget with the center widget. As you see, if I remove this center widget from here and save the code, our text will be on the top. So this widget is just centering the widget. Also, we can actually give a style for our text. We can stylize our text with the style property and text style. We can give a font size, let's say font size 22, and let's give a font weight as well. Font weight dot bold, and let me save this code. As you see, our font increased the size and also it become bold. Basically this is how the Flutter works. Like, we have a widget trees and we have a properties also. Through the properties we can stylize our widgets, we can customize our widgets. Each property has its own like a widget which have different like, let's say, options or properties. And when we are writing like font size, we can change a font size, and there are different properties. If you go down or you can just navigate to the text style, and you can see what kind of properties text style has, and we can use all those properties. Let's say, for example, we used word spacing, the word spacing, color, and other different properties like font family. Font size is taking integer, font weight is taking font weight option, and we are just changing through these properties all our widgets. Let me create also a stateful widget. I will go here and I will create a new file, and let me call this file is a counter widget. Here I will write stateful, and here counter widget. Okay, let me import a material library, and from here I can start writing my widget. Actually, let me write scaffold, which is a screen basically, and scaffold has a property body. So we have a body property. Let me write body, and inside the body we can write any widget we want. Let me write a column. And let me give a alignment to that column. Don't worry, I will explain all this code here, and I will give a children, and then let me write some text widgets and write you have pushed this button as many times, for example, and I'll create another widget, another text widget. I just like copy it and paste it, and actually we need to create a variable, and with this variable we are going to count how many times we pressed. So let me create one variable which is called, like, let's call it counter. Here let me call this variable counter and give a default value as 0. Then we can create a function which will increment the value of this counter. So let me call the function increment counter. Increment counter, and let's put a set state where we will increment our counter. Okay, and here let me write this counter, and let me create one button here. Sorry. We have different buttons. I will explain to you also. Let me create a button, and in on press I can just call our function increment counter. Just copy and paste it, and as a child I can give a text widget as well, and inside the text widget I can write just increment counter. Okay, I will explain all the code now. Let me first navigate, and we will see what we have done in the screen. So from the main I'm going to change just my widget name from here. If you remember, we had a button, and let me copy the widget name and go and paste it here. Also we need to import it. Okay, and let's hotly start. Okay, when I click on this button now, I'm going to navigate to the counter widget page. Let me click on it, and as you see, our text widget is created. Both text widgets are created, and also we can see our button here. Well, we have a text here, which is this one, and we have text here also. So in order to center them, let me give a property center. So all our text now centered. Okay, let me center the column. Okay, our text and our button is centered now. Let me give a style to the text also, so we can see the text style property. And in text style property, let me increase the font size to 14, and let me give a font weight as well as bold. And same thing, I can just copy and give to my second widget. So now our font is increased, but I think I need to increase it a bit more. It's too much. Let's say 18. Even 18 is a bit. Okay. Also, we have a button here. I can give a padding to the button, and I can set it, let's say 16, so button will be. Also, I can give a color, different properties to the button, such as color and other properties, and the text on our text. Let me put a style also. So basically I just customize the widget, text widgets, and the button. So let me explain the code from the upper part. Here in a Dart we just created a counter variable. The counter variable we set to 0 as default. Then we have created a function method where our function is going to increase the counter number by 1. So basically this counter will be increased by 1. Set state. Why we need a set state? Set state is actually changing the state of the widget. Because we have created a stateful widget, we need to call a set state method, which is from that widget. And the set state widget is just incrementing and changing the pixels are here. Let me just, as an example, let me just remove this part, and we have just we can see the counter value here. In the down part we have a scaffold, and we have a center widget which centers our whole widgets. We have a column. Basically column is the widget which is allowing us to create multiple widgets inside it. It's just like a column, and we have a children property where we can just put our widgets, multiple widgets, as like a text, and we have put the button, one button here. Also I gave a padding. Padding is just a spacing. It's giving a space between the text and the button. So we have 16. If I increase it, for example, for 50, just like push it. So now when I click on this button, my value should be incremented. Let's try it. You see? Let me increase the font. Let's say 25. Even like I can make it 100, so you can see. So when I just click on the button, our state is changing, as you see. This is how the stateful widget works. Actually, we are just changing the state here. When we just click on the button, our state is changing, and pixels and widgets getting updated with the Flutter help. So this is how the stateful widget works. Okay, now let me show how in Flutter we are making a layout. Actually, I show you a simple layout now with a column, center and text widget. To understand the layout, how the layout structuring in Flutter. Let me create a new file. You will understand better, and let me call this file as like a layout. Sorry, let me rename it as a layout widget. So all our file will be same. Here I will create one stateless widget, and I will call it layout widget. Okay, let me import material library, and from here we can start our layout in Flutter. So first of all, we need to create a scaffold, of course, the page itself. Without scaffold, if we don't create a scaffold, for example, if we create a column directly, and if I just create a simple column, and if I'm going to navigate to this page, we will return some error. Let me show you, like, let me put layout widget on that button, which was in main, and restart the app. Now if I click on this button, it should navigate to the layout widget layout screen. When I click on it, as you see, it will show just black screen. So in order to put a screen like a white screen, we need to create a scaffold. So this is the basic widget in Flutter, and I will create a body. So when I save our code, our screen will be visible. Now, because we are creating a static widget, we have some warnings here. I can just like write a constant to remove these warnings. So what does it mean? It means that our widgets will not be dynamic. All of them, they will be a constant. Now I have created a column. So previously I explained how column can have multiple childs. Let me create a child. For example, let me create a container widget. Container widget, and I will give a padding to the container, which is the spacing around the container. Insets.all, and let me put 8, which means like we are putting a padding. We are putting a padding around the container with this 8 pixels, like it will be spacing with the 8 pixels. And let me give a color to that container. Let's say blue, and let me give a child, also a text widget, where I can write container 1, example. And the style, I can give a text style. Sorry, text. Sorry, text style. And give a color. Let's say I will give a white color to the text. Okay, if I save, I can see my container here. So I can just give a alignment, centered alignment to my container, and as you can see, our container is here. So, and we have a, you see, padding around it, and the text is basically on the center of the container. let me create another container. Let me just copy this container and paste it down, and just change the color of that container and the text of this container. So as you see, let me give a cross axis alignment also. It's the center. And the center widget, let me wrap it with the center widget so our containers will be in the center. Okay, we have 2 containers. So basically with the column, the containers going as a in the column way from up to down. I can create another container and make it yellow, for example. So we have 3 containers here. Each container has a different background color. Some of them has a padding and contains a text widget in it. This example demonstrates how to use a basic layout of the widget. So I can change this widget to the row also, and all of those containers will be displayed in a row way, like this, as you see. So basically column is a vertically, we are just displaying our widget vertically, and with the row we are displaying our widgets horizontally. Okay, now let's put our knowledge into a practice by building a simple to-do list application. This app will allow users to input task names and add them to a list displayed on the main screen. Through this, you will learn how to handle user input, manage state, and dynamically update the UI. So let's start. Let me create a new screen. And I will call it to-do list. Our app's layout will be straightforward. We will need a text field for the input and a button to add the task to the list below that will display the list of tasks. Well, let's create firstly the stateful widget, and I will call it to-do list. Okay, let me import the material library. Now we have a stateful widget, and we need a list of the things where we're going to store our variables, our input. So let me create a list firstly. In Dart we are creating a list. Let me show you list. It will be a list of strings where we have our user inputs, and let me call it to-do list. Initially our list will be empty. So in order to have a user input, also we need a controller, a text field controller. So let me create a controller also, text editing controller. Okay. Let me just put a column for now here, and the column just have a children. Okay, now let's write a widget. Let's write the UI part first, then we are going to write the functionality. Let me wrap the widget with a scaffold, and this should be a body. Okay, we will have a simple app bar on the top. Let me create app bar also. Basically, app bar, it's like a header of the mobile application, and once I will create, I will show you how it look like. Let me create a simple app bar, and inside app bar we have a properties like a title, and in the title we can give a widget, we can give a text widget, and inside text widget we can just write to do app. Okay, let's check it, let's save it, and let me refresh my app, and I should navigate to this page. Let me just copy this page and go to the main and just put this page inside the main. Then I need to just import the library. Well, when I click, I will see my to-do app here. Here is my app bar with the title, and we have back button by default. So when I click on back, it will just navigate back. Okay, let's continue with the design. So here we will need a text field. Let me create a text field where user will write the notes, and inside the text field, well, I will have a controller, and I just will write a text editing controller, the controller which we created before. I will explain later on how it's working. Then we'll have a button on the controller, and let me leave it empty for now. For now it will be empty. Just let me save it, and yes, we have a text field here. Let's put some padding on text field. Okay, now from the right side and the left side we have spacing. We can increase the spacing also, let's put 16, and now we have, well, padding. We have different option of paddings, edge insets. If we click on the dot here, so we have padding. We can put a padding only to one side, or like a multiple side. For example, if I put only, I can give a padding to the left side, and when I save it, as you see on the screen, we have, let me increase the screen. Okay, as you see here, we have a padding from the left side. I can also write a right and give, for example, 50 from the right side, and as you see, we have spacing from the right side also. So if I do all, it means from the left side and the right side and also top, I will have same value of padding. So basically it's from top I have 12, from the bottom I have 12, and right and left side also I have 12. So also let me put this text field in the middle, main axis alignment, main axis alignment, center. Okay, now our text field is centered, and it has, because it has a padding a bit from the top and from bottom, our text field is not exactly in center, it's a bit down. Okay, let's create now a button also as well. Material, let me show you a material button as well. Material button. Okay, so our material button looks like this. I can put a color, colors dot, let's say blue. Okay, we can give a style to the text. Let me put a text style, and let me give a color property to the text, colors dot white. Okay, and I think we can put a padding as well to our button, only top. Okay, I can give maybe more, 50. Okay, great. Now our text field is a bit in the middle and our button is here. Also, I can give, let me put a font weight also. Just a second. Font weight dot bold. Okay. Even I can increase the size, font size, and put it 20. Okay, now our button is visible. Even I can put a padding on the text, and our button will be a bit. Let me put symmetric here. So symmetric basically is like we can put a horizontal like this and a vertical padding. Let me put vertical, let's say 10, and a horizontal 20. Okay, now our button is bigger, so we can see it, we can click on it. There are different properties inside the material button. We can change like a splash color, for example, let's say colors dot yellow. So when I click now, it will display yellow. So you can play around, you can check the properties, you can check the what kind of properties the widget has. Every widget has its own properties. You see, some of them required, some of them optional. So you can customize, as I said, in Flutter we can customize all things, all widget by ourselves. So it's really easy, as you see. Okay, now we have a text field where we can write thing. We have a button. Let's do a list also. Okay, now let's create our list of to-do items. We can make a separate widget function like this, and we can call it later on. I will show you how to do it. Let me call this function as a build to-do list. Okay, now we will return a list of items. Let's create a list view. List view builder, which will build our list items. So in the list view builder, we have a item builder, and let's put a context. So our widget, this widget will know which context it's depending on. And let me put index in it. Okay, let me put a context here as a parameter. Okay, we have an item builder, and I forgot parentheses, make a function. So here I have an item count, and this item count should be a list of our list of the strings we created here. Dot length. Okay, now here in the builder we will return a function which will be called as a build to do item. Build to do item. We will create this function now, and this will return us a to-do list and its index. Sorry, just do like this, index. Okay, we have some errors. I think we didn't close the parentheses here. We are missing a parenthesis, so let me put a parenthesis here. Okay, now let's create a build item widget. So we will create another widget function which will be called build item, and it will take a string parameter which we will call then it will return list style widget. Don't worry, I will explain all the code again so you will understand better. And we have a text widget, and here we just return the title where we are taking here as a parameter. Okay, now we can call this function here. Let's call our to-do list function, and let's give it the context. Okay, let me update the screen. Okay, we have some errors. So it says null check operator use the null value. Well, because actually we didn't, our list is empty, basically it's null, that's why it's returned the null error. So we need to fill in the list actually. So when we click on add button, we need to be able to add the text. So I need another function which will handle the functionality of add button. So let's create a function, one function above. This function will not return anything. Add to do item, and it will take just string parameter which will be a task. Then we will say like this: if task is not empty, we will put a set state, and we will say just to do list is we are going to add a task here. So basically what we are doing here is we are just checking the list. So if it's not empty, we are going to add a task which is coming from outside as a parameter. So we will call this function, and then we will send a parameter as a string here, and then this parameter will be added to the list. And then let's clear our text field controller. Okay, now we can call this function in our material button on top. So let me put this function here. And give a parameter. It's a text controller dot text. Okay, let me do the function, and let me call this function inside it. Oh, okay. Now we have this function which is going to basically, like, when I write something in this, we have some errors, we will fix them. When I write some text in it and I click on add button, basically this add button is going to add the text which I wrote here inside our list. And then what we are doing is we are saying that when the user is pressing this button, we are sending the text which is here to that function, and that function is checking if the task is empty or not. If it's empty, basically this list, we are adding a task, one task in it. Then we are clearing our text controller, so it will clear an old value which we wrote before. Okay, let me restart the app now, and let me go here. Okay, now we need to check. We have some errors. It still says that we have a null operator, so we can make a operation which will check. Let me do like this. Let me say if to-do list is empty, is not empty, so it will return, otherwise it will return sized box. Okay, well, sized box is just a widget which is empty widget. It doesn't have anything, so it's basically like empty thing. So if our list is not empty, we are going to be returned a list of the widgets. If it's empty, then we are going to return sized box. Well, let me refresh. Let me go back, and as you see, we don't have any errors. Well, let me write, like, for example, go to gym, and I want to edit. Well, we have another error. It said render box is layout is out. We have error actually, I think, in the list of the items. Yes, as you see, we have error in the list builder, which is returning the list of the items. So let me put expanded widget here, Okay, cool. Now let's try our to-do list. Well, I need to write, let me make it bigger. I need to write my to-do task. For example, wake up at 4 p.m. and let's add, and yes, it's working very well, as you see. Just a small customization. Of course, we can customize our app. Let me put it on the top. Okay, now we have we have the list at the top. We can put a padding for our button. Let me put a padding vertically, like 50. Sorry, actually from here, from down bottom, let me put 50. Okay, now we can stylize our text field as well. So here is our text field. Can just put a custom style on it, text style, and let me put a font size, let's say 16. Color, let's put a blue color or red, so it will be visible. Colors dot red. Okay, perfect. We can make it bold, font weight, and let me put a font weight dot bold. Okay, now it's much more better, I think. We can make it bigger, say 20. Okay, it looks good. Let me put another task. Let's say go to school. Okay, it works well. Here are our tasks. So when I restart my app, it's actually opening the main again. So in the main screen, we can just call our to-do list app page. Okay, let me put this widget here, and now when I refresh the app, my page to-do app will be displayed directly. Okay, as you see, I just refresh it, and yes, and now when I write any task, let's say work on a project, and when I click on add button, I'm going to my task will be added to the list. And if I write the other task, clean home, my task will be added. Of course, we can make different customizations to the button, to the text field, to the list and the text widget, the app bar. Let me, for example, change the app bar. Let me check the properties of the app bar. We have leading, we have different things on the app bar. We can put elevation, for example. Let's say 50, let me check elevation. It's taking a double. Let me put 1. If you see the app bar, we have a color of app bar, we have a title, and yes, we have different properties for the app bar. So shape and leading and other things, we can change the completely whatever we need. So all the widgets, all things are customizable. Okay, let's go through this code again so you will understand better. Well, we have created a stateful widget because our state is changing always, and we have created a stateful widget which has, in stateful widget we just created a list of the strings. Basically it's a list, and we just put the default value as empty list, and we have created a text controller widget. Why we need text controller widget? We need to take the text from the user input and get this text with a button, and then send this text into the list here. So it will just like fill the list. Then we have created a function which called add to do item. So in this function what we are doing is we are just calling this function on the button. So when user, as you see, when user press the button, we are sending the text which was inputted from the text field. Okay, let me show. This is our text field, and when user inputs the text, this text controller is taking this text, and we are just getting the text like by writing text editing controller dot text. We are taking this text and sending to this function, above function. So we are taking a text as a task, then we are checking if our task is not empty. That means if this string is not empty, we are going to add it to our list. Then we will just clean our text controller. Why we are cleaning our text controller? Because our old text will not be in there. We just clean our old text, so user can just put a new text and add to the list again. And we wrapped everything in a set state because we are changing the state here. Also, we have created two widget functions. One of them is build to do list function, which is, firstly we are checking here if the list is empty or not. If list is not empty, we are going to display our list of the widgets. So basically we are going to display our text. And how we are going to display it? We are calling a list view builder. So what is doing list view builder? List view builder is helping us to just display a list of the widgets dynamically. So it has a property which called item count. With item count we are defining the length of our list. So if you see here, we created a list. So when we are filling the list, it will have a length, and with this length we are giving this the length count here, and it means that list view builder, our list will be displayed according to the length of the list we created above. Then we have an item builder, which is just building the widgets, and here we are calling another function, and we are giving a parameter here, our list, and we are giving an index of the list. So here we are calling this function, and this function is just displaying a text which we were entering here. So in a simple language, we just filling this list, then we are displaying with this list elements with this widget, which is called list view builder, and this list view builder is calling another widget, a text widget, and the elements which is inside our to-do list is just we are getting the title of these elements and displaying in our text widget here. This is how it works. Then we just call this function in the top of our widget in the column. So this is how the app is working, and here we have just our layout. Like we have added the up bar, then we have a column, and we have 3 elements actually here. It's just a button, a text field, and our list of tasks. Basically, that's how it works. And there you have it, a simple functional to-do list application built with Flutter. This app demonstrates the fundamental concepts of Flutter development working with widgets, managing state and updating UI dynamically based on user interaction. Experiment with this app, try to add new features like deleting task. You can change UI, you can change basically everything. Everything is customizable. The shape of the button, the text, the up bar, basically everything is changeable. In Flutter it's really easy, as I show you. You can just play around and check the widget properties and change anything you want. Well, I hope that you like this tutorial. We almost finished this app, less than 1 hour. And thank you for joining this tutorial. Hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope that you like it.